On the 27th of June, a 17-year-old Algerian French teenager by the name of Nahal was fatally shot by a police officer after failing to stop for a traffic violation. He was driving a rented car and had a history of traffic infringements. The officer stopped him and warned him that he would be shot if he drove off. Despite the warning, the teenager chose to drive away, dragging the police officer a few meters. As a result, the officer fired the fatal shot at the unlicensed teenager. Before I continue, let me emphasize that no one deserves to be shot for a traffic violation. However, it is also important to recognize that no police officer should be put in a situation where they are run over by a delinquent teenager. Police officers should not have to live with the guilt of letting a reckless teenager escape only to later discover that innocent bystanders were harmed because of the teenager's disdain for the West. What happened to the kid was horrible and should not have happened, but this death is no excuse for what followed. This video is likely to get demonetized, so please like this video to boost its reach and subscribe to the channel. You can also support my channel by becoming a member or patron of the channel by going to patreon.com/xmuslim. The news of a teenager being shot and killed by a French police officer spread rapidly, and soon thousands of Algerian French took to the streets to protest. With no leader guiding the protests, they escalated into violent riots. Police stations, libraries, buses, and trams were burned down. Luxury shopping stores were robbed, and estimates suggest over 2,000 vehicles were set alight. Early assessments indicate damages worth hundreds of millions of dollars, with approximately 500 buildings destroyed. Nearly 45,000 police officers were deployed. Yet, they continue to struggle to restore peace. As of the time of recording this video, over 1,300 rioters have been arrested, and the French president, believe it or not, has blamed video games for this situation. During this period of self-reflection, Western leaders persist in making excuses rather than addressing the obvious, the failure of Islamic integration with the West. While individuals like myself who come from Muslim backgrounds have managed to successfully assimilate, we are exceptions to the norm. As always, Muslims are not taking responsibility for their actions. They always cry victimhood. It's always everyone else but them. If it's not America's war on terror, which was launched in response to killing their 3,000 civilians by bringing down 2 iconic buildings, it's the Israelis. If it's not the Israelis, then it's the colonization. If it's not the colonization, then it's the evil West versus Islam. If it's not any of that, then oh, you don't like us because we follow the one true religion and you are jealous of us. There is always an excuse for their vile, barbaric behavior, but they will never take responsibility for their actions. This excuse is not only exceedingly unintelligent, but is also very disingenuous. Imagine you wake up one day and say, they colonized my country hundreds of years ago. Therefore, I am going to wait for a moment when a teenager or a woman or some old person of my ethnicity is racially vilified. Then I'm going to start rioting, burning buildings, and robbing luxury stores. Do you buy that? Of course, it doesn't work that way. Even if there is institutionalized racism and bigotry in French society, which there probably is, as no society is perfect, how is burning buildings down going to reduce that? You campaign against racism. You protest in an organized manner. You become an activist and win arguments and debates. That's a civilized way of doing it. If you're showing that you can't even hold peaceful protests without turning into arsonists and rioters, or are incapable of winning arguments, then you are proving that you are not a civilized bunch. Then that explains why you are living in ghettos and not finding good jobs for yourself. Anyone with half a brain would know that when a country has more people than resources, then of course someone is going to miss out, and for you to make sure that you don't miss out, you work hard. You rise above the rest. Ever heard of those racist white people who say that, oh, stop the immigration because they are taking away our jobs? Well, that was a stupid argument, because those people who are missing out on these specialized high-paying jobs are missing out because they are incapable of doing those jobs. Nothing to do with them being white or Indians or Chinese. The Chinese and the Indians go to foreign countries and the best of them get the best of jobs. This is the reason you don't see Chinese ghettos or Indian ghettos rioting away, crying victimhood and saying, oh, they didn't give me a nice house and a car, therefore I'm going to burn your cities down. Another reason why this is disingenuous is that since when did it become fair to punish the people of today for the crimes of their ancestors? The French people of today who are allowing people from their former colonies to come and live side by side with them is reparation in and of itself. Muslim social media accounts are filled with this narrative and propaganda and say, oh, but you colonized us. Well, so did the Arabs. I don't see you ransacking Saudi Arabia. Why? Is it because they don't let you in on equal terms? Is that because they only treat you as cheap labor and kick you out of their country over the tiniest of violations? Is this because they don't give you their citizenship? Maybe this is what the West should do too. If you're a Muslim, sorry, no citizenship for you, just as Arabs do to migrants in their countries. However, the naive Westerners believed that bringing people out from their medieval world would lead to them becoming civilized. This was an obvious mistake when it comes to a lot of Muslims. Hashtag not all. The Chinese, the Koreans, the Vietnamese, the Indians, they were all able to assimilate and take advantage of what the modern world has to offer, but not Muslims. They're a unique bunch. I don't see Spaniards going to Muslim countries to avenge this 700-year-long colonization. I don't see Greeks, Hungarians, Romanians, Serbians, or Bulgarians moving to Turkey and saying, hello guys, we're here to avenge hundreds of years of Ottoman colonization. If tomorrow Hindus started avenging the colonization of Britain by burning down libraries, heritage buildings, and robbing luxury clothing stores, these Muslims, particularly Pakistani Muslims, would be the first ones to call them out and say, this is the Hindutva we've been all warning you about. But no other nation or community behaves like these guys. This, oh, you colonized us, is a cop-out for failing to catch up with the civilized world. You failed in your home countries, so you blame the West. And now you are failing while living in the West, and you are still blaming the West. Let's have a look at an average household income in Britain by nationality. Look, who's at the top? Indians, who were colonized for 150 years by the British and 700 years by Muslims. Look, they're not crying victimhood. They're not rioting away and crying racism. They're busy making money and paying taxes. But look at the bottom two. Same people, same culture, same language, same skin color, but they are at the bottom. The only difference is, oh, us poor Muslims, the whole world is out to get us. These Muslims fool themselves and think they can fool the rest of the world when they pull out this colonization excuse to defend their hijabis robbing luxury clothing stores. Really? You are avenging your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother by stealing PlayStations and Louis Vuitton bags? When some decent Muslims get embarrassed by the behavior of their fellow Muslims, they say, oh, Islam doesn't allow theft and rioting. Our Quran ordered amputations of thieves. Like everything, the more you dig into Islam, the more you realize that things are never as they appear with Islam. There's always a catch. Yes, the punishment for theft is amputation, but under Darul Islam, i.e., where the law of the land is Islamic. In the land of Kufar, i.e. Darul Harb, in this case the West, there is no such stipulation. If you ask this woman, why is she robbing these stores? I bet my life she would say, these guys have oppressed us, I am teaching them a lesson. You might say, no, Haris, come on, you're making this up. This is exactly what Prophet Muhammad did. He robbed many caravans of the infidels under the guise of they were oppressing us. This is why these people have no loyalty to France. Okay, you know what the Quran prescribes for those who spread anarchy? The Quran 533 prescribes crucifixion and amputations of hands and feet from opposite sides. Those Muslims who want to bring Sharia in the West, if you ask them now, they would say, no. We don't want Sharia. So what have we learned about Muslims of France so far? Since you colonized us, therefore we have a right to burn your police stations. Yes, you did let us into your countries, but since you are not giving us a nice job, a beautiful car, and a nice house in the best suburb, Therefore, we have a right to burn down your buses, trams, and squares. You don't let our women wear hijabs. Therefore, our women have a right to steal PlayStations from your shops. In the 18th century, you killed my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. Therefore, I'm gonna beat up some random French citizen on your streets today. By the way, that guy is the president of an NGO called Angels for Peace, which, funnily enough, advocates to keep refugees in France. You didn't condemn Sweden for allowing a Quran to be burned. Therefore, it's okay for us to burn your libraries. My dear Muslims, you are addressing everything except for the obvious elephant in the room. The reason for your failure is not the West. It's the way you think, which stems from Islam. A lot of other countries were also colonized. A lot of them were colonized by Muslims themselves. But why are you the only one crying over it? And instead of moving forward, bitching and moaning and whining and whinging and crying over it. Why? It's because of Islam. Your Islam gives you this false sense of superiority. But when we look at you, you as a religion are good at only two things: making lots of babies and producing a lot of terrorists. Now, that is not to say that every Muslim is like that, but a vast majority of Muslims do find joy when they see riots in the US or France or the UK, even the ones who are born and raised in those countries. Sure, there are some amazing Muslim countries in recent decades that have shown great promise, like the UAE and Qatar and maybe Saudi Arabia too. But guess what they all have in common? They are moving away from Islam and moving towards Western values of tolerance, openness, and inclusivity. The Muslims causing havoc in these beautiful Western countries are usually the ones coming from their third world countries who still believe that one day the world will be united under the flag and tyranny of Islam. So please, I beg you, let go of this 1400-year-old desert ideology. It was good, it was great, but it was good for that time only. It has had its time. It ruled the world for 1,000 years. But that's it. It's over. Now is the time for globalization, liberalism, inclusivity, and egalitarianism. Every other culture can unite as one modern people. You can too, but you have to let go of your archaic, ancient bullshit beliefs. I know all of you Westerners would be wondering, but we embraced them with open arms. We let them into our houses and we apologize for the sins of our ancestors. But why do they still hate us? Oh, you poor tree huggers. I'm an environmentalist too, so it's not an insult. The West has a problem. The West believes that it can barge into archaic, barbaric, ancient cultures with superior Western ideologies like liberalism, democracy, and secularism. The West thinks that it would be able to seduce those archaic yet very firmly rooted ideologies with its modern values. Where did they get that idea from? Well, you can't really blame the West for thinking that, because after the Second World War, the West was successfully able to overthrow Imperial Japan and replace it with a westernized democracy. They did the same with fascist Germany and Italy. Other countries like India, Singapore, and a host of other countries also adopted modern Western democratic forms of government. You might think that I'm oversimplifying it. I'm not going into too much details, but no matter how much you dig into it, the overall logic will remain the same. That is, every culture is capable of evolving and getting seduced by superior Western values, but one. That's Islam. For example, the countries that are on the outer fringes of the hub of the Islamic world, like Turkey, Albania, and Bosnia in the west, and Malaysia and Indonesia in the east, are somewhat closer to Western values. They have better democracies and a relatively better human rights record. Although Turkey is going downhill fast, again thanks to Islam, but it's okay. But in the heart of the Islamic world, the Middle East, there are no democracies. Their human rights record is atrocious because they are the closest ones to Islam. Islam is the problem. Islam is a totalitarian ideology that is anti-human rights, anti-multiculturalism, and anti-democracy. It's either Islam or fight until it is Islam all over the world. When future historians will write about the future fall of Europe, they will be perplexed as to how did the most technologically advanced civilization of the time fail to see it coming. Kind of like how historians can't work out how did one of the most sophisticated and educated populations of Europe let Nazis come to power. The adversaries of Europe and the West had been openly outlining their detailed plans to defeat them for decades, yet the Europeans remain oblivious. Check this guy out.
في 2050 يعني سيكون مثلا عدد المسلمين في فرنسا أكثر من الفرنسيين، ولكن نحن يعني خلينا نقول لا نعول على أن مثل هذه الأرقام هي التي ستحول هذا البلد إلى بلد إسلامي. الذي نعول عليه بأنه لابد أن يكون هناك دولة للمسلمين، هذه الدولة تحمل الإسلام هداية ونور بالجهاد في سبيل الله عز وجل، تحمل هذه الرسالة وهذه الرحمة إلى الناس. منذ فترة قريبة وليست بالبعيدة ننظر بأن المسلمين فتحوا قبل 400 سنة فقط في ظل الدولة العثمانية، فتحوا بولندا، النمسا، وأصبحت على أسوار فيينا دولة الإسلام عاصمة النمسا، ورفع فيها الأذان، ودول الاتحاد السوفيتي كانت جميعها تحت ظل الدولة الإسلامية، بلاد القوقاز وما وراءها. حتى سنة 1644 كان المغول المسلمون يحكمون الصين. في سنة 1526 فتح المسلمون المجر. فإذا القضية بأنه سينشر سلطان الإسلام على العالم كله بإحدى ثلاث: الإسلام أو الجزية أو نستعين بالله عز وجل ونقاتلهم حتى يخضع العالم جميعا لسلطان.
There are hundreds upon hundreds of such videos available online. They're not even trying to hide it. It's not like some grandiose Illuminati, Freemason, global takeover, clandestine, under the wrap kind of massive conspiracy. They say it openly. Even good-natured Muslims like this UAE minister have warned you people.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
This is so stupid. It's like I tell you that on the 15th of August, I'm going to come to your house at 2 a.m. and I'm going to steal everything from your house. And you, instead of upgrading your home security, checking the alarm system, maybe adding a couple of security cameras, maybe getting a couple of Rottweilers, you go to sleep at 10 p.m. the night before and you leave the door unlocked. No, in fact, you leave the door wide open with a big welcome mat at the entrance saying, "Thieves are welcome." So, to answer your question, where did you go wrong? You need to stop paying lip service. Oh, Islam is a beautiful religion. It's just a few miscreants. It's just a few bad apples who make it look really bad for everyone. Muslims laugh at you fools. The far left is beginning to realize that their alliance with the Islamists was a match made in hell, as they were able to shut up Christian conservatives, but now Muslims are the loudest voices against the LGBTQ community. And the far left is perplexed as to why are the Muslims not supporting us? We've been warning you people for so long that they would never support anyone who is not a Muslim. Now, the same mistake is being made by conservative Christians. Conservative Christians are also getting in bed with Islamists in their fight against the LGBTQ and the woke mob.
We stand together as a Canadian people, as a Muslim and a Christian, to protect our children from them. Yeah, we don't need that door, our children.
Oh boy, you will be hit even harder than the far left. This is a snake that will always bite. This snake bites itself when it has no one else to bite. So this is another match made in hell. I don't know about you, but I have my popcorn ready and my feet up. I'm gonna have plenty of content for the next few years. Hope you like this video. Please like and share it and subscribe to this channel. It would be great if you can support this channel by becoming either a member or patron by going to patreon.com/xmuslim. Until the next video, bye-bye. If you like my video and would like to support my channel, then you can be my patron by going to patreon.com/xmuslim, or you can simply buy me a coffee.